So, Golden Sun, one of the best handheld JRPGs. In order to find something like it, we have to break down exactly what it is and what we're looking for. So, it should be a JRPG. I think that goes that's pretty self-explanatory. It would ideally have puzzles and interesting ways to solve them, but nothing that is overly complex and frustrating. It's a very classic JRPG in a lot of ways, so a world map, towns, NPCs, a really good narrative to draw you into the world, and a great soundtrack that highlights those incredible moments. And then, of course, there's the Jin system, something that is very unique to Golden Sun, where you collect Jin, you gain unique abilities from them. You also can do classes. That part of it is something that I don't think you'll necessarily find as easily, but you can definitely find games where you collect things that are like Jin, and that grant you unique abilities. We'll be talking about those. Of course, there are some things you can't necessarily quantify, like a certain feeling that you get when you play the game. And there's also the overall idea or theme that permeates the game. So let's see if anything stands out. So right away when I think of games like Golden Sun, Lufia 2 comes to mind. Lufia 2 really paved the way for this style of JRPG with dungeons that are memorables for the puzzles within them and the characters you meet along the way. For me, this is one of the must-play games in the JRPG genre, and it happens to have a lot in common with Golden Sun. Instead of Jins, it has a different system of capsule monsters. These are monsters that you capture during the course of the game, some that are hidden, and you can feed them various items as you play to make them turn into even better versions of themselves. One of the more unique aspects of Lufia 2 is that you already know where the game will end. The opening to the first game is the end of the second game. What makes this more incredible is the ending still hits you like a ton of bricks when you get to it. It's an incredible experience that still holds up. You can get Lufia 2 on Super Nintendo. The Wild Arms series is a classic JRPG series that spans 5 different titles, and they change pretty significantly. I would recommend starting with either the first or the third game in the series, depending on your tolerance for old school graphics. They share a few things with Golden Sun, various puzzles that you can solve in pretty fun ways throughout, a unique world to explore, and in Wild Arms you trade Jins for arms, which are technological weapons you get as you play. The main character goes from a little pea shooter to a bazooka, and there are plenty of different ways to choose to use that system. There are also a lot of hidden things to find, puzzles, turn-based combat, and a lot more in Wild Arms. I would definitely recommend this series for any Golden Sun fan. The original Wild Arms is on PS1, but there's a remake you can play on PS2, and both have their pros and cons, so you can choose whatever makes the most sense for you. Ni no Kuni the White Witch is a game we got during the PS3 era, which did very well, but did you know that it was based on a JRPG for the Nintendo DS that got super high scores in Japan? Ni no Kuni Dominion of the Dark Djinn is that game, and it is well worth playing. It has a different style that is a bit more similar to Golden Sun, and it has turn-based combat. As you go through the game, you get spells that are called everyday spells, which you use to solve puzzles, similar to Synergy, and there are a ton of them to find as you play. They do things like create a bridge, or lets you talk to plants, levitate, unlock doors and chests, and in order to learn those spells, you have to actually draw the rune with the stylus, which you learn from a book called The Magic Master or The Wizard's Companion. It also has a system of familiars that you collect throughout the game, and there are hundreds to collect with unique abilities, their own strengths and weaknesses. There's a lot to this game. And it's a shame we never got it in North America, at least not that version, but you can now play it thanks to fans who translated the entire thing. Highly recommended for any Golden Sun fan. You can play Ni no Kuni Dominion of the Dark Djinn on the Nintendo DS. Breath of Fire is a classic JRPG series that Capcom refuses to love, but that's okay, we'll love it for them. You could pick any game in the series, but I would probably recommend Breath of Fire 3, and one thing that reminds me quite a bit of Golden Sun is the master system. As you travel around, you'll find various masters who will be able to train you and give you new abilities, and you can mix and match those abilities, and they also affect the way that your character grows over time when they level. So a lot of systems there that are kind of similar to the Jin system, and on top of that, The main character undergoes transformations, which you can change depending on the dragon genes you have, and the combination of 3 genes that you choose. There are a lot of really cool and varied transformations that you can get, and that is one of the things that makes Breath of Fire 3 really unique. It's also just a really solid game. Overall, Breath of Fire 3, it's really great. You can get it on the PS1. Tales of Symphonia is a game that has both the similarities and differences with Golden Sun, but it has enough similar that I would definitely recommend it, plus it's just a good game. It's a massive JRPG with all sorts of different places to explore, including towns, dungeons, much more, and things I can't even talk about without spoiling it. You also get an item early on called the Sorcerer's Ring, which you can use to complete various puzzles, and it also changes over time. So the obvious and main difference is the combat is more of an action RPG style, not turn-based, but if that isn't a requirement for you, I think fans of Golden Sun will still find a lot to like here, and this is widely considered one of the best games that Tales has to offer. And if you enjoy this one, it opens you up to a massive amount of games, the entire Tales series. You can play Tales of Symphonia on GameCube, Steam, and all current-gen consoles. And that's it. There are, of course, other games that have similarities to Golden Sun, but it's a pretty unique game. And series, I guess. So it's hard to find many games that share a lot with it. As of the time of this video's creation, there is a game called Aruna that also seems to have some similarities, and that's on Steam, but it isn't out yet, so it's one to keep an eye on, but not one that I'm necessarily recommending. If you have any other games you would like to recommend to other people who loved Golden Sun, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching.